Before humanity, before the very concept of a king, Earth was a realm of giants. A world sculpted by tooth and claw, where survival was a victory earned each day. Among these titans, one name, whispered across 66 million years of dust and silence, still commands terror and awe. Tyrannosaurus Rex, the tyrant lizard king. But was it born a monarch, or was its crown forged in the crucible of a brutal, unforgiving world? How did its journey begin? This 12-meter-long, 9-ton predator possessed a bite force that could shatter bone into splinters and senses so acute it could smell prey from miles away. It was a biological fortress, the apex of millions of years of evolution. If you find yourself captivated by these ancient rulers, consider subscribing to our channel to join every expedition. Now, let's journey back in time and uncover the story of a lost world. Our story begins not with a roar, but with a crack. 67 million years ago, in the twilight of the Late Cretaceous period, the continent we now call North America was split by a great inland sea, and on its western shore, a landmass known as Laramidia, a new life was stirring. This world was a vast, humid floodplain, a greenhouse of giant ferns, cycads, and the first flowering plants, all thriving under a hazy, subtropical Sunday. Here, in a clearing fringed by colossal redwood relatives, lies a mound of earth and rotting vegetation. It's a nest, but not one of delicate twigs. This is an incubator, a slow-burning compost heap built by a giantess. The steady heat from the decay warms the clutch of 24 elongated, leathery eggs buried deep within. From inside one of these eggs, a tiny creature pushes against its confines. A small, sharp egg tooth on the tip of its snout scrapes against the inner wall. After hours of struggle, a fracture appears, then another. With a final, desperate shove, a small head emerges into the thick, damp air. This is our Tyrant king in his infancy. He is no bigger than a modern turkey, covered in a coat of soft, downy feathers for insulation, a feature we now know was common among young tyrannosaurs. His eyes, disproportionately large in his small skull, blink open for the first time, taking in a world of overwhelming green and brown. His legs are gangly, his roar a mere squeak. He is fragile, a morsel. The ground trembles as his mother approaches. The shadow of the 40-foot-long, 9-ton behemoth falls over the nest. She is a walking mountain of muscle and bone, her presence a deterrent to any large predator that might threaten her brood. But she is too vast, her scale too immense, to notice the smaller dangers that lurk in the undergrowth. And danger is always watching. From the dense ferns, a pair of sharp, intelligent eyes observe the nest. An Acroraptor, a feathered predator no bigger than the hatchling's mother's foot, sees not a future king, but an easy meal. Our hatchling, driven by an instinct millions of years in the making, stumbles out of his broken shell. He joins his siblings, a small, chirping brood huddling together for warmth and safety. Every shadow, every rustle of a fern leaf is a potential death sentence. For every Tyrannosaurus that reached adulthood, dozens perished in these first crucial days. His journey to the throne would be paved with the bones of his fallen brothers and sisters. The first test was simple, but absolute. Survive the day. He feels the pang of hunger for the first time, a sharp, demanding ache that will define the rest of his existence. The seasons turn in the Cretaceous. Our young Tyrannosaur is now a survivor. He has outlasted most of his siblings, who were claimed by predators, sickness, or simple bad luck. At 1 year old, he is a different creature. The downy fluff of his hatching day has given way to a coarser coat of proto-feathers, and he is now the size of a wolf, a lean, long-legged predator, built not for crushing power, but for blistering speed. This was a critical stage in a Tyrannosaurus's life, a phase paleontologists see preserved in the fossil record. Juvenile T-Rex were not miniature adults. They were different animals occupying a separate niche. Their skulls were narrower, their legs more like those of an ostrich, and their teeth were blade-like, designed for slicing, not shattering. They were the cheetahs of their world, while their parents were the lions. His life is a relentless search for food. His diet consists not of towering hadrosaurs, but of the small life that scurries in the forest's understory. We see him stalking a small, furry mammal, a multituberculate, peeking from its burrow. He stays impossibly still, his sharp, forward-facing eyes giving him the superb binocular vision his species is famous for, a key weapon he is only now learning to wield. He judges the distance, a twitch of his tail for balance, and he lunges. A snap of his jaws, and the hunt is over. It is a small meal, barely enough to quell the fire in his belly, but it is fuel. It is another day of life. He learns the landscape, where the lizards bask, where the streams are shallow enough to cross, and which territories to avoid. One afternoon, chasing a dragonfly-like insect through a clearing, he strays too close to a dense thicket of cycads. A sudden, piercing shriek stops him dead. From the shadows emerges a nightmare, an adult Dacotaraptor, over 5 meters long and armed with a terrifying 10-inch sickle claw on each foot. This predator is everything he is not. Experienced, powerful, and utterly lethal. There is no fight to be had. Instinct screams one word: run. He pivots on his powerful hind legs and bolts. The Dacotaraptor gives chase, a feathered engine of destruction. The world becomes a blur of green and brown as our young T-Rex pushes his lanky legs to their limit. He is faster in a straight line, but the raptor is more agile. It closes the distance, swiping with its claws, tearing a gash in his tail feathers. He yelps in pain and fear, but doesn't slow down. He bursts through the thicket and into the open floodplain, the territory of the giants. A colossal Edmontosaurus raises its head, its bellow of alarm startling the Dacotaraptor, which hesitates for a fatal second. That moment is all our young hero needs. He scrambles into a dense grove of ferns too thick for the larger predator to follow, his heart hammering against his ribs. He has survived. He has learned his most important lesson yet. Not every battle is won by fighting. For the young, survival is often found in flight. What brought you to your passion for dinosaurs and the prehistoric world? Please share your story. We would love to hear it. The years of adolescence are a time of explosive transformation. Between the ages of 14 and 18, our Tyrannosaur undergoes one of the most dramatic growth spurts in the history of life, packing on an average of 5 pounds a day. The lanky runner disappears, replaced by a walking siege engine. His skull deepens, his jaw muscles swell to enormous proportions, and his teeth thicken from slicing blades into 7-inch, bone-pulverizing railroad spikes. He is nearly an adult, and with this new size and power comes a new, burning instinct, the drive for dominion. Forced from his birth territory, he becomes a wanderer, a dangerous nomad on the fringes of other, larger predators' lands. It is a perilous existence, but it hardens him. Finally, he finds a prize worth fighting for. A stretch of river valley, teeming with herds of Edmontosaurus and prime nesting grounds for Triceratops. But it is not undefended. The ruler of this domain is an older male, a scarred veteran with a jaw twisted from an old injury. The confrontation is inevitable. It begins not with a roar, but with a low, rumbling threat that vibrates through the ground. They circle each other, two titans of the Cretaceous, tails held high, heads lowered. This is a battle of intimidation, but neither will back down. The fight erupts in a storm of violence. They slam their colossal heads into one another, each skull a battering ram designed to withstand immense force. Jaws powerful enough to crush a car, snap at faces and necks. Our younger male is faster, but the veteran is stronger, using his weight to shove his rival backward. This isn't a hunt, it's a brawl. Fossilized skulls of Tyrannosaurus are riddled with healed bite marks, the unmistakable signatures of these brutal territorial disputes. They are the battle scars that tell a story of a life of conflict. Our protagonist sees an opening. Ducking under a clumsy lunge, he sinks his teeth deep into the older male's snout. Bone groans under the pressure. The veteran bellows in agony and, for the first time, feels the tide of battle turn against him. Shaking his rival off, bloodied and defeated, he retreats. The valley belongs to the new king. Now, at the apex of his power, his reign begins. We see him hunt not for scraps, but for giants. An adult Edmontosaurus, weighing over 4 tons, grazes at the edge of the forest. He uses the terrain to his advantage, his mottled skin providing camouflage in the dappled light. He approaches from downwind, his massive, two-toed feet surprisingly quiet on the soft earth. The final charge is an explosion of power, a 20-mile-per-hour dash that shakes the ground. He doesn't go for the neck. Instead, he delivers a single, cataclysmic bite to the hip, his teeth shattering the massive pelvic bone. The force throws the huge herbivore off balance. The wound is mortal. He doesn't need to risk a prolonged fight. He simply waits, a patient tyrant, as shock and blood loss do their work. The king has been served. Another decade passes. The king is now an old man. At 28 years, he is ancient for his kind, a living monument of survival whose life story is written in the language of scars. A healed gouge across his snout from the jaw of a rival he long outlived. A deep tissue injury on his leg from a near miss with an ankylosaurus's tail club. The jagged edge of a broken tooth. The fires of his metabolism, which once drove his incredible growth, now burn slower. He is still the apex, still the tyrant, but his reign is nearing its end. A long, harsh, dry season has gripped the valley, making prey scarce and desperate. Hunger, the drive that has defined his entire existence, pushes him onward. He tracks a scent to a muddy wallow near a dwindling river. Here, he finds his final adversary. Not a rival tyrannosaur, but the other king of this lost world, a colossal bull Triceratops. This is no frightened juvenile. He is a veteran, a 10-ton bastion of defense, his great bony frill scarred from 100 battles. He is the immovable object to the T, Rex's unstoppable force. This is a clash forged by a 60 million year-long evolutionary arms race, a conflict proven by fossils bearing the wounds of their eternal enemies. The Triceratops turns to face him, stamping his feet and lowering his 2-meter-long brow horns. There is no element of surprise. This will be a duel of equals. Our T-Rex circles, looking for an angle, a moment of weakness. He feints, lunging to the side, but the great herbivore pivots with surprising speed, keeping its shield-like frill and deadly horns pointed at the threat. The T-Rex lunges for real, jaws agape, aiming for the vulnerable flank. But the Triceratops is ready. It drives forward, and the T-Rex is forced to leap back as a horn slices through the air where his chest had been. The battle is a brutal dance of power and defense. The T-Rex uses its immense head to try and shove the bull off balance, while the Triceratops uses its powerful neck to gore and stab. Finally, our king sees his chance. As the Triceratops lunges, he sidesteps and clamps his devastating jaws down on the herbivore's shoulder, crushing bone and tearing muscle. The bull shrieks in agony. The fight should be over. But in its death throes, fueled by adrenaline and instinct, the Triceratops makes one final upward thrust. Pain, sharp and absolute, erupts in our T-Rex's side. The remaining horn has plunged deep into his abdomen, piercing vital organs. He roars, a sound of both triumph and agony, and wrenches himself free as the Triceratops collapses, its life finally extinguished. The victor stands over his kill, the setting sun casting his long shadow over the bloody scene. But the victory is hollow. He tries to take a step, but his legs tremble. A warm wetness spreads from the wound in his side. He is bleeding internally, fatally. The strength that held a valley in its thrall for a decade is now draining into the Cretaceous soil. He stumbles away from his final conquest, his great head low. He finds a quiet grove of ferns by the riverbank and collapses onto his side. The sky darkens. A gentle rain begins to fall, washing the blood from his scarred hide, just as a storm had heralded his arrival at the peak of his power. His breathing becomes shallow. The Tyrant's eye, which had witnessed the savage majesty of a lost world, slowly closes for the last time. To recreate this journey spanning millions of years, we researched countless documents. If you appreciate that effort, please leave a like to support the team. The Tyrant's reign has ended. His roars are silenced. His footsteps no longer shake the earth. But his story does not disappear. It is now being written into the land itself. A final chapter recorded not in flesh, but in bone and stone, waiting for a future world to read it. The river, swollen by seasonal rains, bursts its banks, and layers of silt and sand gently entomb the fallen king. The soft tissues are consumed by the small and unseen, but the great bones, protected from the elements, begin their long transformation. Under immense pressure, over millions of years, water seeps through the porous bone, depositing minerals, molecule by molecule, until stone has perfectly replaced the original structure. 66 million years pass in a heartbeat. The world is reborn. The humid floodplain is now a dry, wind-swept canyon, and new eyes are searching the ancient ground. They are paleontologists, and they have found the king's tomb. The excavation is painstaking, a delicate process of freeing the colossal bones from their stone prison. Each piece is a clue. The growth rings in his fibula reveal his age, a venerable 28 years. The healed fractures on his ribs tell of brutal battles, and the gash on his snout perfectly matches the bite of another Tyrannosaurus. The catastrophic puncture wound near his hip, a hole the size of a fist, speaks of his final, fatal duel. His skeleton helps lay to rest the myth of a simple scavenger. This was an active, formidable predator, a warrior who lived and died by tooth and claw. His bones, now resting in a museum, are the final, silent testament to a life of struggle and dominion, a single, epic story from an age when giants truly ruled the earth. If you believe every fossil holds a great story waiting to be told, subscribe to the Dinosaur Story channel to help us bring those legends to light.